Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. And I'm feeling my age this morning. After all the work I did this morning, I'll have to show it to you here. You'll see it in a moment. But unfortunately, we have to start off with some very sad news. Emery's father did pass away. He passed away day before yesterday, actually, in the evening, and it was late. And we kind of thought we knew that yesterday, but we weren't 100% sure about it, so I didn't mention it on the vlog yesterday. But it definitely is confirmed now. The service will be this Sunday in St. James, Missouri, at the Jones Funeral Home. I think 1 o'clock visitation and 2 o'clock actual service. Anyway, that's a sad deal. I'm sure Emery's going through a lot there. It's a bad deal. She lost her mother to cancer a few years back, and now her father. So bad deal. Changing subjects, this evening we will have a jam at the Ozark Highlands Christian Church. The jam usually starts about 6:30. And anyway, it's if you're in the neighborhood and want to come and sit in and play or just listen, that we'd love to have you. Ozark Highlands Christian Church around 6:30 this evening. The lawn tractor woes. Well, I left you yesterday saying, well, I've got 3 things I need to work on, and I'm not sure which one to work on. And then I said, well, probably the lawn tractor, because Sue wants that fixed. So just listen to this list of things I've done. First of all, just looking for problems, like somebody mentioned it yesterday too, about the spindles, that they could be tight or something and maybe causing it to bog down, So I kind of am aware of those kinds of things. So I had already done 2 different spindle repairs on it during this process here. And one of them was yesterday. I checked them again, and sure enough, there was another one that was kind of loose. But fortunately, that one just needed to be tightened, so I fixed that. I've cleaned the fuel tank, taken the fuel tank completely out, washed it out, blow it out, everything, dried it out. I've cleaned and tested all the fuel lines. I've cleaned and tested the fuel cap. I have replaced the fuel filter with a larger fuel filter. Replaced spark plugs. Actually, it got worse after I put new plugs in it. I don't know why. That just was coincidental, I think, more than anything. I cleaned the carburetor. I put on a fuel pump. Adjusted the valves. A new air filter. I checked for spark under the cowling yesterday, by the way, and I didn't find any, spark that was going off anywhere that it shouldn't be. Installed new fuel lines yesterday, new fuel hoses and clamps, of course. Installed yet another new, larger fuel filter. And I figured out what the problem is. It is related to the fuel, as I've said all along. I'm sure it's something to do with fuel, because you can tell it surges just before it dies, and it's under stress all the time when it dies. Electrical could be stress die, like for instance, if the coils were weak or something like that, it could be where you get into a high stress situation, the coils could not be producing enough spark. But that wasn't what it sounded like to me. You got to realize I've been around lots and lots of engines. I've heard lots of engines fail, and I generally can tell by the way they fail what's going on. And I knew it's something to do with fuel. Well, I finally figured out what it is. I'm still not 100% sure how to really fix it. And it's weird that it's just kind of reared its ugly head over the last few years, because it's been this way all along. And that is the fuel filter itself. I told you that when we put the fuel filter in it, the like I had put a small one in there. Well, then the problem got really bad. So I put a bigger one in there, and then it seemed to work good for an hour, like I told you, and it didn't give her any trouble. And then it started giving her trouble again. Well, what it is, the fuel filter is horizontal in the line. The tank is below the fuel filter, so it's the kind of fuel pump it has is a suction pump, and it sucks, I guess, gas or something out of the oil area or something. I don't know just how it works, but it's more of a suction pump. It has some kind of a suction that pulls the fuel out of the tank. Well, the tank's lower than all this other stuff, so that suction pump has to work good. Well, apparently the pumps themselves are working okay. Now, after I say this, maybe I need to check that suction line a little bit more too. That might be where my real problem is, actually. But anyway, my point is that the reason I'm sure it's the fuel filter, the fuel lines, and maybe this suction line, now that I just said this out loud. Anyway, it's never filling the fuel filter all the way up. And the reason I know that it's a fuel filter problem now is because I was monkeying with that filter while it was running, going up and twisting it like this. And as I was twisting it, I was able to make it die a couple of times. And it sounded just like it died, when it dies out there in the yard. So I'm 99% sure that's what the problem really is. It's something to do with that suction pump, and I've got a brand new pump on it, so I don't think that pump's bad. So maybe it is that actual suction line. That hadn't occurred to me till just now. But so I'm going to look at that. I've been thinking that it was something to do with the filter orientation. Like maybe should I have the filter go vertical, or should I just keep it horizontal? I mean, it's been horizontal since the tractor was bought. So I don't know. But anyway, I've got it kind of nailed down now. I kind of know what the problem is. The thing about it is, I knew it would be a simple problem. It's trying to, I could never make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're out cutting in tall grass, that was the only time you could ever make it happen. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Kind of think I know what to do now. Talking it out loud here just now, I think I solved it. I'm pretty sure it's that suction line. I'll bet you that suction line is leaking and not sucking hard enough, and that's why that fuel filter never fills all the way up. All right. Thanks for helping me fix that. Now we're moving on. Anyway, here was just a little bit of that struggle yesterday with the lawn tractor.
Well, my friends, like I say, it's not easy being me. I had to take off 3 bolts here and 3 bolts on the other side after taking off 4 bolts on the carburetor to get the carburetor out, because these other bolts won't let it pull out because it hits that guard. So you have to drop the guard in order to get the carburetor out. And all of that just to replace this fuel line right here. So let me get that replaced.
And you might say, well, what's the big deal taking out 6 bolts? Well, first of all, they're long bolts and they're way up inside. You have to reach underneath the tractor, reach up in there to hold them because they spin. And it just, if I was 20 years younger, it wouldn't even probably be a problem. But anyway, and plus the design of that. Why would they have designed it where that guard keeps you from taking the carburetor off? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So in the future, I have a feeling that guard is going to be getting a nice big cutout in it, and probably will. I've got a plasma cutter. I think I can fix that problem. Anyway, today I thought, well, this morning I'm going to, well, first of all, that took care of one problem, the tractor. I told you I had 3 things that needed immediate attention. One of them, the next one, was cutting these big cedar trees to make the cants, or whatever you want to call them, just great big planks or boards or whatever to timbers for timber framing the roof on the Waterwheel mill house. So this morning I thought, well, while it's still early, I'm going to go cut a bunch of cedar and get that done. And here's a little bit of that.
Boy, it's a good thing I'm only 69. This might take it out of me if I was 70. I don't know. Don't know if I could do it if I was 70. Here's tree number 1. All I did was fall this one. I haven't cut it into logs yet. It's not a very big one. One of the smallest ones I've cut today. In fact, I think that is the smallest one I've cut today. Take a look up here though. Oh my gosh. This is a different deal up here. You can see there's a stump there. There's a stump over there where the chainsaws are. And I don't know, there's more around, trust me. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 logs right here for sure, and maybe more. There might be another one there, but 9 for sure. And I'll get 1 or maybe 2 out of that one down there that I cut. Yeah, this is just about knock you down doing this. What you don't get, there's 2 things that are super hard. One is trying to walk through that stuff as you're cutting. It's just hard to walk through. It's really hard. The second thing is that because they're so bushy, as you can see, as they fall, those limbs, and they'll also twist as they fall, and the limbs are under tension in multiple directions sometimes. So, like you might cut 2 in a row where the tension is like this, and then you'll cut the next one and the tension's like that. And, it'll screw you up and pinch your saw blade. I only pinched it 3 times. One time I had to, take it loose with a saw. The other 2 times I could pull it out. But yeah, it's pretty hard to control. And by the way, that's what you see right here. I cut 2 more good-sized trees down over that way about 100 yards. And those 2 will make, I think there's 4 logs in there. So just cleaning this up is going to be tough. This was the biggest cedar I've saw it in a long time right here. This is a big one. A big old boy right here. For cedar, Now, of course, this is the bell end, but we'll give you some idea. 16 inches is probably not far off. Up here a little higher, it's not going to be near that big. It's more than a foot. 13 inches, I'd say. So that's pretty big cedar, and it's still pretty big down through here, as you can see. So that one there, I got 3 9-foot logs out of. That's by far the biggest I've sawn in a while. There's another good old big one right there. It's a big one, right there. And yeah, and there's more around here. You can see this is a solid cedar thicket up here, but most of those are fairly small. There's a pretty good one there, pretty good one over here. I didn't know these were in here. A month or 2 ago when I needed more lumber, I sawed some cedar down there. I didn't know if I came up this way, they got bigger. But anyway, I was glad to find these this morning. Another observation is these 2 saws. You can see the orange one is much bigger. Well, they're both orange, I think. Anyway, the Husqvarna is much bigger saw. It's like 70 some cc. This one's 50 cc. But I got to tell you something. I don't notice much difference in weight. They both weigh. They're heavy. The 70 cc saw is heavier, no question, but it's really heavy, trust me. I bought this one to be a lightweight saw, but honestly, I bet it's only 2 pounds lighter than that one, maybe. I'm going to weigh them when we get back to the shop to see what the difference is, because it's surprising how heavy that saw is. We're back on the main trail here. You can probably tell that's a trail, but fell this tree across the trail that way. Got 2 good-sized logs out of it. I mean, you could make another post out of that up there, but it's not quite big enough to do what I want to do. And then I got 2 good logs out of this one. And again, this one fell across the trail going this way. Yeah, just cleaning all this fun stuff up is gonna be fun. Just, cleaning it all up with the Bobcat and then hauling all these things back to the shop That's yet another big job. Well, it's a bit windy out here, so you may hear the wind noise, but here's the logs we ended up with. Let's count them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 logs. Not a bad morning's work, if you ask me. Like I said, I'm glad I'm not 70. I don't know if I could pull that off if I was 70.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do when I hit 70. I might have to start taking it easy. No, that was a lot of work. Trust me. You just don't get it unless you're here and see. These are the camera never doesn't show the hillsides, and although that was relatively level compared to some of the big hillsides here. That it was sloped kind of like this. Level would be like this, so it's still sloped. But there's a lot of steeper hills here too. I mean, really steep. So that wasn't terrible. But then there's big rocks that are turning under your feet. I'm talking rocks this size that you're stepping on because it's solid rock everywhere. And then you're stepping on those limbs, and it's hard. It's way harder than you would imagine unless you were here doing it. But fortunately, the good news is that it was nice and relatively cool compared to the weather that we've been having. So it was, when I started out, first thing, it was in the upper 60s. Then it was in the upper 70s by the time I finished. But it wasn't bad considering. So here's the chainsaw weight clip here real quick.
Okay, let's see how much these babies weigh. 21 pounds, 3 ounces, 21.3. This one's lighter, but it's going to weigh a pretty good amount. 14 pounds, 6. So even the light one's still fairly heavy. You're carrying 15 pounds around with you, if you know what that feels like, lifting weights and things. It's good and heavy.
Yeah, and again, the weight of those, it's a lot more than it might seem like. When you're carrying 20 pounds out on your arms and, stepping through all that stuff and trying to get around, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And that other one weighs 50 pounds, 15 pounds. So even that's still a good chunk of weight there on the end of your arms. In the conditions you're in. If you're out there in flat, open ground, like right out here on the parking lot type thing, it's not that big a deal. But when you're stepping through all that stuff and angling around and tripping over limbs and vines are grabbing your feet, and it's just not simple. The second tree that I cut this morning was just coated in poison ivy vines. Now, fortunately, I'm not real bad on poison ivy. I have gotten it very lightly a couple of times in my life, and both of those times I got it from Sue. She gets it pretty easily, and it gets all over, and then she'll rub up against me, and then I'll get it. But that's the only way I've ever gotten it, was rubbing off of her. But I've never actually gotten it, on a first-hand contact basis. In fact, when I was a teenager, we climbed, I think I've told this a couple times before, but we were out collecting. My mom really liked those old insulators that used to be on the old-time poles, with the big thick wire and all that, those big glass insulators. And some of them are really pretty, different colors and things. And so we were climbing a bunch of those poles, and a bunch of those poles had poison ivy on them. And my buddy Gary, he wouldn't get near it. Gary is, by the way, is Sue's cousin. And anyway, he wouldn't get near it. And I was just climbing those poles left and right with all that poison ivy on them and everything. It never did bother me. I had cuts and scratches on my arms from climbing those poles. Of course, that was back when I could do that, back a long time ago. Anyway, let's move into the comments and see where we're at. Looks like Joe Nigan wishing everyone and Jerry a great day. Thank you. Kenneth Ennis, Jerry, you have the Heath here in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. We are getting heavy rains from the tail end of that hurricane. Wow. Yeah, hurricanes. We don't deal with too many hurricanes here in the middle of the U.S., but we get our share of tornadoes. But I wish you well up there. Good luck with it. Moving on down, looking for question marks primarily. Bill Rhodes says, good afternoon. Ben Boyd, I think Jerry may have forgotten about the mandolin lesson last night. Boy, did I ever. What happened was, Sue didn't remind me either. I was working on our lawn tractor, and I got that done probably about an hour before the lesson. I didn't even think about it. I was so busy on that, working on that dang tractor, I was happy that I finally was able to recreate the problem. Sorry about that. It's heck to get old. And the sad thing is I've got reminders on my phones and on my tablet and everything. It's just that when I'm out busy like that, I never see them or hear them. And when I finally sit down, I don't look at those things. I just sit down and collapse, basically. So there you go. But thank you for reminding me. It's pitiful. Terrible. You guys will have to remind me in the vlogs beforehand, because otherwise it's likely to happen again. All right, moving on down. I can't believe I did that. Nancy Milwaukee says, yes, he did not say the day and date yesterday, and I think he did not realize it was Thursday. Yep, you're right on that. Yeah, just crazy busy. David Tharp, huge riot and fight at the local seafood diner. Battered fish everywhere. James Copy, please be careful on the roof. Yep. Rod Wentler, thinking about the camping mill house, I would require all kinds of railing and stuff so people wouldn't fall in the dark. Yeah, we got all that covered. That's going to be fine. Let's see. Gary Hayes, West Virginia Hillbilly. Jerry, would a rustic sign work? Line 1, the mill. Line 2 would be Spring Valley Ranch. Line 3, Jerry and Sue Rosa. Line 4, the date. Yeah, we may put up some kind of a sign. You just never know. Got a laser cutter. They're not too hard to make. Wavy Gravy. My parents sent me to mime camp one summer. I still can't talk about it. Now that's sad. Mime camp. Let's see. Ben Boyd. Heartfelt condolences to Emery. Yeah, it's really sad. They had 5. Emery's got 4 sisters and a brother, so there's 5 girls, and all 5 girls literally just, you could tell they just adored their father. I mean, they all just loved him. Yeah, maybe more so than average, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those very close to the father type relationships with all the girls. So I know it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's a sad deal. And it's really sad for a lot of reasons, and it almost gets political or something the way that it turns out. But they have different belief systems, and they don't really like modern medicine and all that. Even though he's a doctor and he worked in the emergency room, he still wasn't. Yeah, he had very strong feelings about all that stuff. And I don't think he took any pain medicine or any kind of medicine during this whole thing with his cancer. And yeah, it's just something. Yeah, he's stronger than I am. I can tell you that for sure. Hold on just 1 second here.
Opal's got a little shop, coffee, tea, and soda pop, written on the faded window sign.
That was grandson Isaac. He was coming over to get a capo for Emery. Emery, I'm sure, is going to be singing at her father's funeral. She sang at her mother's funeral, and I can't tell you how beautiful it was. Let's see, moving on. Lots of condolences and sympathy. Thank you very much. Rod Wintler, how about no filter at all for, oh, you mean the fuel filter? Yeah, probably better have one because that tank somehow or another gets a lot of junk in it, a lot of dirt in it. Bruce Ducker, the guard can be part of the weight reduction program for more efficiency on the lawn tractor. Yeah, that's a good idea. That really is a good idea. Just take the darn thing off. It probably is necessary because you do back up a lot with those things and you can back into a tree, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have a modification done to it. There's no doubt about that, because that is really, I hate stupid designs. I mean, you've heard me rant on that a million times. There's nothing worse and no good excuse for a poor design. And to design, a carburetor is something you kind of mess with on tractors and things. And to have to take off that great big guard, which is hard to do. It's a heavy guard. It's not real lightweight, steel anyway. It's a full 1/8 inch thick, heavy steel, and it just ain't. It's just stupid to design something like that. It would have been just as easy for them to design it with a cutout right there as it is going to be for me to cut it out. So anyway, Kim Williford, my deepest heartfelt condolences. Yep. Well, thank you. She, I'm just sure she's tore up about it, but she's very strong, and she can, it was the most beautiful song I ever heard at her mother's funeral. Just beautiful. I've Wavy Gravy. Jerry, I had to go lay down after I watched your log video. Wish I had some of your energy. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a lot of work. It just is a lot of work. A lot more than it looks like. Cutting firewood, people always say that old adage, it warms you 3 times, it warms you when you cut it, it warms you when you haul it, and warms you after you burn it, Well, it warms you a lot more than that. It really does. Cutting firewood, especially on the scale I do it. And so because of that, doing these logs and things, that sort of is easier than cutting firewood in one way, but cutting cedar is not easy. Cutting big, oak trees, for firewood or whatever is one thing, but cutting cedar, there's so many limbs to trim, and like I said, it's all under stress. And it's every time you cut a limb, every limb does something. It's going to swing one way or swing the other way, or the only ones that don't are the ones that are on the top of the tree. You can cut those off; they just fall off. But all the rest of them, in other words, 3/4 of them, because like across the top, it's not much, but the rest of that tree, all of it's under tension, and it's a pain to cut. It really is. Let's see. David Tharp says there's two different kinds of logs, good old big ones and big old good ones. Yep. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, I would be lucky if I could do a tenth of what you do. Well, I am blessed. I've said it. You've heard me say it. I am on the little things in life. You better look out. But on the big things in life, I'm the most blessed person on the face of the earth. Yeah, on the big things. Nobody's been luckier than me. It's just crazy. But on the little things, it makes up for it. Like, I couldn't even tell you how many things just from today I've got to fix already. Like I don't even go into all these things because they're just normal to me. It's like the bucket on the Bobcat tore up, and so I got to fix that now. And I don't know, there's something on the trailer that wasn't quite right. I had to work on the power steering on the Ford tractor. These are all things in addition to doing what I did this morning. And, they're just normal. It's like on the little things, you better look out. Trust me. You ain't never seen nothing like it. Bill Mumbo, Bill Mumbo said, we'll let you off this time. Okay. Nancy, you need to make a short on your facial reactions. Yeah. Ronald Todd, I left a message on your office phone before the lesson. I guess you didn't get a chance to. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I haven't looked at that office phone, any of the messages on that office phone, 6 months, probably. Seriously. Once I retired, we should have it disconnected because we're just paying for it. But I think it's on some sort of a family plan, and that just made it cheaper to have the third phone than it was to have just two or something. It was one of those kind of stupid things. So I didn't bother calling to get it disconnected. But we should have it disconnected because I'm not using it anymore. It's pitiful. There's just too many irons in the fire is the problem. I can't say grace over all of it. That's the problem. David Tharp, hey, wavy gravy, the least spoken language in the world is sign language. Bill Webb, I wish I could be there to support Emery and the family, especially if she's going to sing. Yeah, I am just sure that's what she needed the capo for. I'm positive she's going to sing at her father's funeral. Yeah. And Sue Peel, sympathy there. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a bad deal. It just really is a bad deal. I think both of them, honestly, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I kind of think both of them would probably be alive had they gone with traditional medicine. The mother, Renee, she was the lady that used to play bass in my band. Hers started out as breast cancer, and I think when it started out, had she gone for traditional treatment, it probably could have been fixed. But then it moved into her brain later, and yeah, once that happens, it's pretty bad. Well, anyway, I think I'm going to let that be it for today. I may go over to that chair and take a short nap. Then I'm probably going to try to produce one of the video on that hose reel and get that out because I owe that to the company that sent it to me. And by the time I get that done, if I get all that done, because it takes forever to do those darn videos, then I'll probably head out to the jam this evening. Once again, I really apologize about missing the lesson last night. I got so involved in that darn tractor, and I ran to town to get more stuff, and yeah, that's the only excuse I got. So that's the one I'm sticking to. We'll see you tomorrow. Well, no, we'll see you Monday probably with something else. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you soon.